But there was this one white man, Mpandlane, looking like a middle-aged man, Mpandlane fight, that go-officing, go-officing, in the office on tafole go-officing, let some chick. So essentially, what I was being shown over there is that he's busy sleeping with his subordinates that will allow him to. Not so much go-officing, because that would likely be wrong. But what I saw was that, and le involved in syndicate A alone. And it had to me owner. Snacks. Lampandlane, middle-aged man. Wampandlane that some of y'all are sleeping with. Mamela, like listen, it's a brothel. Brothel. You're running a whole prostitution ring, y'all. Why nila na mapos enu? Hani bono relitserani. Le khudi swagi mo man, give mo mebalona ninjelen. No, ngaba no koko ben, aninjelen. Twangata. Who's your grandmama? Also wako YouTube madibabe. I can understand why I saw. It's not like nabamutuba nabona. It's not like nabamutumba bamutrapa. It's not like okholetse ko mukuku. It's not like nasena life e tsang sense. Ona kena dikolo tsa Marusi. Le ena abua ka thwe. Ona le bathroom e feletseng ko ha bona face break. This chick does not have the kind of trauma that would render her a prostitute. So isn't yeah, fair. She was always a loose cannon. Indeed, you will always find chicken and jefela all lost, even though uno baba no mama. Abenzi says, I don't know if her dad was around, but I know that mama kona mega kona certainly. And so she was never starving. Nasa sotlega nasa sokolo na dua peredi bonding. I poshonga, not we poshonga, sorry. None of us were into makeup. Mara di lipstick lip gloss she was that girl, snob, essentially. She was that chick. Right. So I don't understand why you would become this thing. Like I don't understand it. I don't listen. So why ninja? It's the occult. It's the last days. I guess it's like all these kids on spring break go America. They come from middle income families. You are unlikely going to be able to afford to go on spring break. Go Houston, a different state altogether. Texas. Unless you've got imali. Unless Guinea. They can afford to send you on a flight ticket. The great majority of them are college students. So if you can afford to travel to Houston for spring break, if at all you can afford to go to Fort Lauderdale, is it or what? For spring break. Your parents pay for it. And manje, since social media got everybody's business everywhere. As it's a trending thing on Twitter of the next morning in Houston. We hotel. Let my daughter go have fun. And next thing, some dude is out here trending trash on Twitter about how it is that next day after like a whole rendezvous, a whole tryst, the night after. That however have no reason to bayazi mosha, bayazi tola, bayazi tela, bayazi ravas. What's the reason? But harlotry is not born, it is made. Or maybe it's born, I don't know. Some people, nah, it's not born, it's made. I know that, I would know. If at all it was born, I'd be a whore. Harlotry is not born, it's made. You become that thing because of each decision that you make later on in life. But I guess the seedlings were already planted back then. Because the bosses are middle-aged, not so much go officing mara. I guess maybe hoteling. Maybe only basa musadi le bana by or whatever. And then nila what is going on? Like why are you okay with such a lewd syndicate operating among you? That thanks to them, you frankly don't even have to go out like that. Is it about you or are you just so taken over by demonic spell, by demonic possession? Anyway, whatever. Nonetheless, let me just tell you, this to me guy, I had a like a word of understanding, sort of kind of vision in the middle of me frankly coming out of sleep. So Ingati, it was like part dream. Man pumagara this thing. She's free to go. It's not like I'm sitting on her. Telling everybody, let's just put this out there. I'm beautiful. Class. So there's a man owning an obsession over me. It's not hard for people to believe that. It's not hard. In themselves when they crash. It's not hard. So to deny when you are obsessed with me, everybody knows you're lying. My colleagues, the guys YouTube, some of the guys, the M word. M word. I don't even want to spell this word because it's too crass for my ministry. When they talk with each other, and the M word, it's MSONO. That's what they call you. Every time I get a mokito buagan to seki buangaton, bagbiza that thing. Abagbonga next. Bayazi. And they're taking bribes from you, imali. So they keep on hurting me. Though abasabatla, some of them, bapusha nje. For the sake of money that you keep on giving them. Your stats are tanking, so deny or you are obsessed with me, and because of the cheltes of patalang madima. Yazwa, though you might say, Ningam tateli koptu, izinto azikulmayo, let's come munkang sirasi. It's impossible for them to not take me seriously because it's not like you're looking at iskob and just some slaba, sing a kazi, sing any character, sing charisma. Lebona in themselves, bunny, crush, you're a fetish. You're a fetishistic beast. In themselves, they look at me the way that I used to look at Fat Joe when I was a kid. He was older, and Hannah hits a Fat Joe show. I had a mad crush on him. I used to spaz over him. I had a celebrity crush on Fat Joe. Now, but they spaz over me, though I'm an older lady. So, if at all they can spaz at me, Baliba, Nadi Gen Z, wena, obvious. Okay, I saw put my sister Otsirian. So, the things I speak by are called. However, you're sitting where you're sitting, of the imagination that you can tell them, and then you can talk to people and say, this white man, YouTube, thanks to a decision made by him and some other people. Listen, there was y'all were given a notification, and I said this in one of my other videos. You were given notice by the United States of America that ultimately YouTube it was a moment alone. Before then, you think you have won, you are doing a psyop on me. A psychological operation. You want me to believe that I'm losing when I'm actually winning. So seeing as you're basically kicking the last kicks of a dying horse, your boss, he's, I believe, a boss or not go YouTube, whereas this guy to me, YouTube, he's not involved there. So this white man is like, how can I explain this? Remember in the last video I was complaining about the corruption in South Africa when I was lamenting in Soul Raising Storisa Professor Anele Ngati Hammond. I spoke about how it is that the corruption is just littered all over the show. And then the executives that run an organization are so corrupt in themselves that no one at the bottom stands a chance. This man is like a department head. He's like a department head. Like if that division was marketing, he'd be like the CMO, right? He'd be like the chief marketing officer. This white man. He is the department head, and he is like the CEOs of Standard Bank in the case Ega Ane. They are the powerful people running a show, and so therefore whatever corruption is going on in the Ogotlasi amidst minions, they're aware of it, and so they protect them. Remember in my last video I said that Marimabe it reminds me of some chick at MTN that I used to work with that was unfireable. There was nothing she could do that would ultimately lose her job because ona protected distraction that ona ne resa ditse. Well, I told you guys that some of my Madimabi's colleagues on YouTube, they went so far as to go to Mapodisa. They opened the case because they can see Ukutulamuntu is operating in a culpable homicide. She's trying to kill a woman. Emma Poise was an eventual result. She was reported to Abantu in the business. Yazibwa, she had a written warning, but nothing else, and she was still sitting on my chest in spite. And then by escalator, the person that Madimabi reports into, because Babo no Ramotona was structured Madima, and the colleagues, the brave ones, escalated, and still nothing was done. And again, the case opened because of escalating all the way to like pretty much department head, and nothing still got done with what is being done to me. Finally, they made a decision to go to the police. If you've got this kind of moral dilemma, maybe it's because you're paying my bills, or maybe you've been sending your CV, in when nothing is giving. Maybe I could say. The people that have reported this case that now are looking at me like, yes or no guy, and it's a pity. Shame. They went they tried to report. First, they escalated, they reported Madimabe into her own boss for just going rogue. Posia Kona did nothing. Nothing was done about him. Got department head. After the department head ignored the issue, the white man. By my poison. And that's where Lechata Eba Lisebenzelayo. With random spells trying to make out of me second wife. He is some kind of a big honcho that is overarching in a police department. And because of him, Yazibole case. And that was when the staff members as a YouTube were like, "Ay yo, dog." We even went outside to Amapoisa, and it would be only an announcement made by the United States of America that ultimately they're taking YouTube South Africa out of the hands of the South African administration department that caused the white man, the essentially tantamount of a CMO. I don't know what the department is. I don't know what it's called. What are you? Like your moderator. So what would be your big executive guy called? A chief operations officer, whatever. Like that guy. The chief of the head of the department. It was only at that stage that then was there an announcement. It's not like he's a moral guy that leave her alone. this guy went and told Udumi. And again, who is Dumi? Dumi is from outside. He belongs to a cult. In himself, he is big in some fashion. He has got his own businesses or business. YouTube, he doesn't have an interest in YouTube, at least not in terms of a legal personality. Just like the dealership, Ferrari, well, some chick speculated that it was a Ferrari with a Storisa and a Hammond, the professor, but some luxury car. It could be a Ferrari, a Porsche, a Bugatti, who cares? I don't know what the car is, but basically the dealership of the car works, obviously, is working, obviously, with Standard Bank. The dealership is obviously in cahoots with Standard Bank. Otherwise, the fraud that was done by Standard Bank would not have been possible. It had to be in cahoots with the dealership. Mara, the dealership, yeah, Porsche or Ferrari or whatever, let's say, let's for namesake, let's say the car's a Porsche. The dealership, yeah, Porsche, there has to be a corrupt executive over there, working with banks, working with, in particular, executives of banks. They can't just work with administrators, low order, like interns, you know? They can't just work with low order interns, which is why I was saying Castorisa and Hammond, she's focusing hotly and hectically on the person that bypassed the system, that pushed that transaction through, given that the wrong chassis number, the wrong VIN number, the wrong whatever was put in. That individual is low order. That individual is an administrator. The person that basically approved the deal that would then cause this here administrator to bypass the system is a minion. She's like Marimabi. She's Marimabi. She's a minion. But what needs to be gunned for is indeed the CEOs of Standard Bank. The white guy and the black guy, Sim whatever Shabalala, and the other white dude, that are protecting minions, of course. Because the minions are in on it. It's a syndicate, and a syndicate cannot operate without low order people, Abantu on the ground, that are eating drakes. The ones that are getting my peanuts down below, that however think my peanuts is a lot because they're paying for your rent, your apartment. However, to unravel, just like what happened with Khamenei in Iran, to unravel this here structure, down, head of the snake, and then the besieged units, the ones down here in the ground, into the sky, you will then deal with them later on. But if you can deal with the head of the snake, if you can decapitate the head, the regime altogether then becomes wobbly-legged and is on its last legs. It's breathing it's kicking the last kiss of a dying horse and about to breathe its last. It's wheezing, it's coughing like a geriatric with emphysema. It's pretty much at the end. So get to the head. Therefore, Anele, the professor, must recognize who's her enemy here. Yes, it is the person that bypassed the system. However, it is the individual that was aware and so therefore gave the transaction to bypass. That is the true problem here. Mara, I guess you gotta deal, like, she's focusing on the person who bypassing the system. I also have been largely focused on Marimabi. And I had a dream of Marimabi some time ago, in a stray suit. Essentially, Nasakono delete content tag and nothing. There was essentially a thingy from higher ups, a message from higher ups that told her stop messing with this woman's channel. So now Ufraza can and embarrassed. She's embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? Next. So she's the person that's out here bypassing the system. She is the administrator. She is the person that has been given administrative rights to essentially mess with a policy, mess with a transaction, mess with a personality on the banking systems, mess with, in my case, a content creator on YouTube. She's got the administrative rights to do this thing. And she has got a mandate coming from Godimu. And initially she was operating within a rogue capacity. At first she was operating within a rogue capacity. But they told her, listen, there is only so much you can do and not more. So Kupandefela are too much with this woman. I've now become precious intelligence. Therefore she can't delete me. Kodwa izinto enye keep your week on week ziyamhlaza. Back in the day. Nah, she wasn't the best of human beings, Mara. One thing she was never was a gold digger. And one thing she never was lesbian. And another thing she never was this here incendiarily fickle. Like, whatever's going on with this chick, listen, I don't know what in the world happened ever since Rafoka. My cousin and I, Lena, Mara ubile nonsense later on in life, nonsense, and a lot of people here in South Africa, but gonna the nonsense, in nonsense back in the day, Mara, nonsense in the fella in rata clancy, ona le loose, Mara ona le bokonyana bonga mabona hala hana bua hana techa ana. As a person, she had a thing that she was. Now she's like, oh, she's just tossed to and from by everything. We datli. Anyway, whatever. And I'm happy. I can't deny. Because I get everybody is in denial. They're saying, when I describe her, I want to put my pieces together and they're like, God Almighty baby uso. Vele isn't as right now. She went to the school, uso, this, that, and the other. So now she can't deny it because we are Kedra. Like Mamela. Like her what is this? The initials are say, I don't know if she was ever married. Mara, the initials are LM. Her initials are LM. Like, it's her, okay? It's her. Like, what do they call it? Maiden. Her maiden initials are LM. So her first name starts with L. That's why I gave her the name Lorraine. It was in keeping with the L. So, yeah, Kena. Maranza deny, but it's becoming harder and harder to deny Wutingui. It's only a pin drop in the ocean. She's a minion. She's an administrator. She's a plant at YouTube. And O plant ubani. Udumi of which is like perhaps EGM or CEO. Yeah, dealer. Yeah, Porsche. In the case, Anele. Go Standard Bank. Essentially, the dealership that is working with Standard Bank to harass a client. He's from outside. He doesn't have any legal ties to Standard Bank or to YouTube other than essentially having contracts. This man, all I know is that the syndicate that he works for is tied to the ANC, and the ANC has got a strategy with media, with voices on the ground, with whistleblowers to essentially smother whoever they don't like, even on social media. So therefore, it is important for some of the bosses of the syndicate, this cult, to have influence inside social media. The grace of God, really, that Professor Annele Hammond was able to trend on Twitter. As soon as they caught me, they nipped me in the bud. Listen, as early as 2014. They've been on my case ever since. They're all intricately woven, and Igala, the head of the snake, ANC, Mamela, the leading party in this country, is ruining all of our lives. Anyway, this year to me guy would be the tantamount of the CEO of dealership, the car. He has a business that is separate from YouTube, but he has a vested interest in ascertaining certain voices are smothered. And Marimabi, every so often, the plant that she is, functions as a whistleblower of abantu abakipa inyongo zabo that on social media using this here very virulent platform like YouTube or any other space to let their bosses know that their whole strategy was to thwart Christianity. So therefore, they're just generally on an overarching level looking at Bazalwane, and then of course Impimpi Ezingenje in other capacities. Mara, true saints, they're all up in our grill like white on rice. So Marima Abe whistleblowed me for being a Christian, but she also recognized me, so she's picking a personal bone, Nami, belonging to this cult. And then, like I said, Kimupila Mamela, I'm gorgeous. So I'm a daughter Asriani Gangaga. Abatola Impimpi or a whistleblower or Umzalwan or Kenyayo or Tandazayo that's going to be an affront to their structures. They can't let too many Christians thrive. I get about something communistic, Babata Hosota Basadi and Ape Banani dreams divisions. They're all up in our grill in particular, like white on rice. It's a whole thing. The CRL commission is involved in this whole thing. They are coming at us as Abafasi. Listen, I've been explaining my cult. I'm not gonna get into it in depth in this video. The explanation of this cult and what it's also trying to do to black women. There are many things they're doing, but including just thwarting the success of black women. And so Lotogo, Shiluva, whatnot, does not know what they're trying to do to women. So we'll find out for the first time. And the AMK of this thing, I had a dream of her. I'm gonna share it with you. I've had a dream of Unaledi Pando, even who's this? Barack Obama's wife, Michelle. So it's international in scope as well. But the nuances or facets of these cults that have got these loose cannon men, because they did not sign up for all this rapey insistence. Bona, they were just trying to basically fashion or formulate the earth in their own image. But they did not sign up for just random freaking genocidal rape on women. They did not sign up for that. So basadi baporile, ki loose cannon. And among the women ba Kenya Gile, this Togo woman, like, yeah, we're trying to thwart Christians and Christianity. Because Bosadi Bahache is pulling forth. Bosadi Bahache Botwa, yeah. Anyway, whatever, listen, we're gonna talk. We still got plenty of hours to speak here, even though at some point I'm going to run out of power. Nonetheless, you will hear the voice and see the smile. Okay. This Tumi guy is outside, has his own business. However, is like CEO stuck with Standard Bank. Ferrari or Porsche. They're in on it, they're running a syndicate. He is in himself benefiting lucratively from the cult. It had to be Umundu placed in headship of this department that is aware of what's going on, because if you're going to run a syndicate of this nature, you can't have just little moderators at the bottom. Because if Bapankwa and the buyer escalate masisha, so they have to be protected from a level yadi CEO. So they make sure we're either CEO or executive, like CMO or COO, essentially is in on it. And that's why Madimabe is untouchable like she's MC Hammer or whatever. Well, untouchable because Boss High, who is the department head, uyazi what she's in. So unikezwa nje as a front, a toy, like a warning, if at all uya escalator, unikezwa nje a slap on the wrist, but the person that is being thwarted, that needs to be maintained. So they have shown, the employees sabona, ore Madimabe is untouchable. She's not a real employee, she's like a plant. And I know, I spoke about that in my last video. They found out the hard way ore Madimabe. And so now everybody's just sitting around looking at me on some kiso no gagarao because bamu escalate ko boss nya higher, the boss of which she's also sleeping with, and boss higher is a black man. Udlanga mumuna. Go put parking lotting. This chick, like, listen, so like full on dog. Anyway, whatever. Ulala ne boss yake. Le boss then he has been evidenced as a patsy. There's nothing much going on, guy. Bam escalator to the white guy, and the white guy also ignored the indiscretions of Madimabe. And it would be a notification, a notice from the US that they're pulling out from SA that would then cause boss department head to be like, to dude. Mamela, YouTube is pulling out of SA. So this woman that you're out here silencing, at some point we're not going to have control over her. We're on borrowed time. So the money that you have paid me and my department, the hefty fees that you and your syndicate have paid me, at some point it's going to be out of my hands. We've been given notice to unravel, and I have to in myself go and find another job somewhere else. And all your staff members at the bottom, they are on TikTok. And so they're working on a psyop. That's why I had a understanding to me take anything because you've lost. We won, they haven't won. I don't know how long it's gonna take for YouTube to finally extract out of South Africa, but on that day I'm gonna be finally set free. I'm gonna fly like a bird. I'm gonna soar. And I'm gonna tell you what in the world it is that God has been showing me. I said it. The syndicate is not gonna be able to function anymore when the administrative powers have been taken out of the hands of SA. And I spoke about that in my last video as to why this is happening. It's a bipartisan decision on the part of the US because they realize that there is corruption in Africa, especially in Africa, on their platforms. So they're pulling out. So listen, I'm 5-2 out. I get it, you're operating in a psychological operation. You want me to think I'm losing, but I just have to wait. And I don't know how much time you've been given. Ultimately, the Lord. And I don't even know if the US is gonna set free my channel and let me breathe, or if I'm just gonna have to start a new channel, and from there, because I'm no longer gonna be under the clutch of these crazies in South Africa, I can then be able to grow from there. Either they will lose this existing channel, or I'm gonna have to start elsewhere. Because it would be an administrative nightmare to find everybody that you have censored. So they may or may not find me, I don't know. But I do know that there are some international bodies that are looking at me. Whatever it is that y'all are doing to me is ending. Hallelujah. It's ending. I have to be found. I have to be found, and there has to be essentially eyes on me to protect me. I can't just fall through the cracks. I can't just start a new channel elsewhere because some of the people with whom you work are in the US. Some of the people with whom you work, it's like a whole international, intricately woven cult involving international bodies. Therefore, in order for me to be safe, once YouTube has extracted out of South Africa, I have to be earmarked, like spotted, and there be essentially like an executive decree that protects me uniquely. How can I describe this? It's like in the Bible, the King Darius. Remember that there were all these people trying to thwart the finishing of the building of the temple. And then King Darius rocked out and not only recommenced the finishing of the building of the temple, but hooked up an executive decree, or a decree of sort, like a kingly decree, that if anybody tries to stop the building of the temple, a pillar must be taken out of their house and this individual be impaled on it. And so no longer could people out here with every bone in their body try to thwart the rebuilding of the temple. If at all some force from the US does not actively look at me as a previously abused content creator and make essentially a rule that don't touch Garabo's channel, if I'm not among the people that is specifically protected by the US, there will be some of their people that will insist on keeping me shut. Because gunama moles. I did say in my content that there are moles in the Trump administration that are working against the interest of the US. And so far, I spoke about the exposure and Joe Kent, and then recently Pam Bondi, etc. Right? And I said that until such time that all the rest of these monstrosities, Trump is going to struggle to succeed in all that which he needs to do. Yeah, anyway, whatever. So therefore, Gunabantu that work in the United States of America, that are American, that would ascertain that I go nowhere, even if South Africa pulls out, even if the administration of YouTube in South Africa is taken away from South Africans. I would still be harassed because of interests maintained by cults globally. Therefore, what is important is for me to get spotted, discovered as a hostage. And thanks to me uniquely being found as a hostage, it's not me uniquely, but us. There's like a body of believers, Christians, on the internet that are hostages of cults across the world. Unless it's like we need to get found in a dungeon. We need to get found hidden in a hole by some rescuing force. Like the Jews getting found at Auschwitz, at Ravensbrück, at Sobibor, at the various concentration camps across Nazi Germany and the surrounding nations. Unless an extraneous force discovers that there is like a batch of severely censored people, and then come to learn that this here body of severely censored people are Christian in particular, they then on that day must be active, physical, outspoken protection of these people because they were discovered in a basement, buried, hidden, and frankly facing destruction. And everywhere where they go, where they try to plant a seed, they get censored. Something of this nature is coming. An operation that's going to ultimately unravel, cause the discovery of the persecution of Christians on the internet is going to happen, where it is that you will have been acting rogue in the interest of your secret societies, and then it's going to cause somewhat of an executive order to get sent out that these here particular batch of Christians, these Christians, if we find anybody trying to thwart the work of these particular content creative Christians, if there's anybody trying to thwart the work of Christians anymore, censorship, even though there was already an executive order that went out from Donald Trump at the beginning of his administration that stopped persecuting people on the basis of faith. When we get found buried anyway by a bunch of people working for cults, there's going to be a similar executive order to the one near King Darius, that if you try to thwart the work of the temple being built anymore, listen, let there be a pillar in your house that then we're going to go and grab and impale you on it. And because of that, no more our little city monitors working for syndicates, secret societies, etc., getting an extra buck, getting a little bit of beef on top of their salaries to go and help themselves buy meta goggles just to go and have fun at the arcade. These people that are supplementing their salaries with payments from cults are now going to be chilling on an executive order that is telling them you're going to lose everything and you're going to be regarded as a treasoner in the US if you dare sit on any channel and we find you out. Let there be a pillar in your house on which you're going to be impaled. And because of that executive order, that decree, people are no longer going to be able to sit on the chests of Christians. Nobody's going to be brave enough to go and grab a bribe. They're going to have these secret societies essentially to go back to the drawing board and start again their little attempt to coup Christianity. They're going to have to go back. That's why I told you Donald Trump is chosen. And this year attempts to try and squeeze Christianity out. True saints. I had dreams, Mamela, and visions of American content creators that are Christian. They are just harlots, Mamela. They are spiritual whores. They are doing sorcery. And they're so big on YouTube. They belong to these cults. They're so big on YouTube or TikTok, wherever. Social media. If you get Facebook, they're huge. Yet they're not us. They don't belong to the kingdom of God. They're not one of us. They're not one of us. They're not our sisters and they're not our brothers. And yet they are ambassadors for the cross. And they keep getting exposed in my dreams to a point where I stop watching them. If I follow their content, I stop. Because God showed one point they are part of the syndicate. They are trying to control the Christian narrative. They're trying to ascertain that people suture themselves to them so they can ultimately wither away Christians. I spoke about that. So in one of my other videos, listen, I'm not going to labor on that point. There's quite a lot of things on my mind and today's message is not that. So we're not going to basically wrap ourselves around that like a burrito. We're gonna move nice and on, right? So now bringing it down then to South Africa. Ultimately, I'm gonna get set free, and it has to be a focus on not just me, but the body of Christ that is being persecuted online. Enough for there to be an intentional rescue of us. Other people belonging to other nations, even though there's no longer administrators in South Africa. So it would not be enough to be just at the layer of South Africa for me to be set free. It would have to be the explosive exposure of this whole entire syndicate, even across the world. And listen, it's coming. Your day is ending. I told you, women like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, your careers are over. You're at the pinnacle right now of what you're doing. But you have been the centers of your own nation's clout, and you have walked away from that which you used to believe in. And while you might have hundreds of thousands of people willing to listen to your crappy, trashy videos, it doesn't make any sense. It's only because the algorithm is pushing you towards the fringe of society that have got radical ideas that don't make no kind of sense, and they're paying you with their super thanks. They're paying you, they're giving you an audience, but it doesn't make sense. The majority of the world, frankly, does not think as dystopianly Yeah, I got to make that word up as you do. Your audiences are manufactured, they're created. What they have done is essentially open you up to the whole world that can watch you. And so you have lots of fans and lots of supporters, while they have strategically blocked other people with sober voices from being heard by everyone that could hear them, that they might be as big as Candace Owens or as big as Tucker Carlson. The other day I spoke about Joe Rogan and how it is that it doesn't make sense that he's the #1 podcast in the world. It don't make no sense. He is not the most compelling voice, and yet he is the most listened to. They're flooding people. It's like free reign. Anyone can go in there. Like a pathogen just spreading cultures in a petri dish. But if at all you're going to put certain antibiotics and certain antivirals in a petri dish where there is a flourishing culture, if you're going to put growth blockers in a culture, in a petri dish that is growing cultures, they will proliferate, but not at the same rate. So everybody else is limited as to how far they can reach. They don't have access to the whole world. Whereas there are certain content creators that are literally open to the whole world. And so they're huge. And the fringe, like the crazies of this world, are amidst this cocktail, this caucus of crazies that listen. So when then you so incredibly beef up the prospect of success of certain people at the expense of others, you're creating a narrative. You're deliberately trying to veer the world towards anti-Semitism. You're deliberately trying to veer the world towards weird, whack, flat thought, vapid thought. And in so trying to do that, are making it look as if though the world is just largely as a concert anti-Semitic when it isn't. The world, yes, is anti-Semitic. It's been a thing for a minute, but it is not as anti-Semitic as it presently looks on paper. Neither is the world as anti-Christian as it looks on paper. Neither is the world as flat-minded and as dull pertaining the pushing down our throats of certain agendas like the LGBTQIA, like wokeism essentially. There are enough people on earth to push back against this, but there are enough such voices being ignored entirely. The moment you rock up with a sober nyana message on your tongue, your audience is restricted. It's a Hegelian dialectic. They're trying to crash and burn societies by ruining them and making them morally debased so they can rock up and essentially rescue the day later on. And this here is Tower of Babelesque. It's like Pinky and the Brain. One is a genius, the other's insane. They're trying to take over the world, but they get stopped every single time. Secret societies operate like Pinky and the Brain. They try to take over the world, but each time they get stopped. But there's gonna come a time in history when they're allowed to finish almost finish what they started. And that time is called the Great Tribulation. We're not yet there. We haven't arrived. But in the run-up to how close it is that they get, especially now that we're living in an almost omnipresent era with technology, how close they get will make saints feel like they're living in a post-apocalyptic era. Our lives will feel dystopian. We will feel like we're living in an Orwellian nightmare. That, frankly, is the way that the world is. Until you get out of your chair, your house, your fence, and you go and you just chat with a neighbor, and you go and you just like look at people at the mall and realize that people are more normal than what in the world under heaven the internet is making them look like. Yeah, when you go out there in the wilderness and in the streets, you will realize that the human race's normal distribution, it does not have the same curvature as what is on the internet. The internet is making life look a lot more dystopian than it actually is because they're trying to push this. It is a vessel of influence. They're trying to push it down our throats. So if you can conceive it, you can achieve it. Fake it till you make it. That's what they're trying to do with me. They want me to feel like I have lost. It's a psychological operation. And so they're trying to make me settle when I'm obviously winning. Fake it until you make it. This morning when I woke up, I also heard mob justice. They're ultimately going to be come up against by mob justice. Essentially vigilantism. People being fed up. Enough is enough. I spoke in some of my other content that even what you see today with the crazy indoctrination that we are endured through on platforms like Netflix is going to simmer down because the majority of the world is going to realize, listen, out there in the wilderness, it's not that bad. It's not that dystopian. But on the internet, it totally is. Because the internet is this place that we all come and we interact with each other. So we have got a viewpoint of people's countries that is completely warped from what is actually going on the ground. And so when you go and you actually mesh with your countrymen, you realize how much we're being deceived on the internet. And God wants to recalibrate those scales, and indeed is going to do that. But the only reason why the internet looks the way that it looks is because of a Hegelian dialectic. Them destroying the earth, discombobulating it, tearing it up like a piece of paper that they might rock up and be the solution for that particular disaster. Do you understand? They're trying to destroy us so they can control us. But they're not gonna do it fast enough. They're in a rush. Listen, they are like a hamster on a wheel. They're in a rush. They're trying to catalyze this affair. And the only way to catalyze it is by influential mediums like media, like social media, like the internet. But God is not interested. People are hungry for God. They're thirsty for righteousness. And God said that if anybody is thirsty and hungry for righteousness, the Beatitudes, they will be fed. So if people are hungry and thirsty for a better life, like, listen, this is not a life. I don't want to do this. It's dystopian. But there's nobody out there giving them the gospel, or those individuals that are proliferating the cross, largely on the internet. But they're not the real deal. They're in no position to help people be discipled in Christ because in themselves they belong to cults. As soon as an individual is in their church, they would literally veer them towards secret societies, introduce them to cults, to spells, so that we can all be in this together, in mixing Christianity with a whole chunk of trash. Seeing as these individuals are not trustworthy, God doesn't want them being ambassadors to Him. He wants His real saints, His real deals, His real people, and His real people are thwarted because the power of God is that which they are actively working against. So whatever's going on on the internet is not what's going on in the wilderness, and the skew is enough to cause some people to commit suicide. It's enough to make the body of Christ to think the world is ending when it can't possibly be over. It's enough to cause the body of Christ to think the world is ending when no, that can't possibly be true. There's too much Bible prophecy that is yet to be fulfilled. The number of videos that I keep on seeing online about people claiming to be getting dreams about how Christ is coming tomorrow, it can't be true. Y'all need to be more biblical, but we're not gonna, again, enter into that. I've spoken about that in my other videos as to why we're not at the end yet, so we're not gonna labor on that point. There it is. It's 2:08 in the morning, and the thing outside is beeping, and after like an hour the power's gonna go off, so I only have 1 more hour left, or even 45 minutes, but it's okay. We're gonna carry on talking. Let's hope, seeing as there's no what do you call this? Seeing as there is no, what is this that I want to say? It's not hot, so because agushisi, what you might call this, because it's not boiling out here, hopefully my battery is going to take a cool minute to finally pass away. But yeah, it's presently sitting on 100%, so let's talk while it's outside. Soon there's gonna be no electricity. Yeah, but it's okay. You're gonna see a still photo, but I'm still gonna be talking through it all. I just don't like the quality sound of my other devices, but I guess I'm gonna have to do what I need to do to get information out. Nobody's gonna stop the gospel. But anyway, the point I'm getting at is that the world is misrepresented at present by the internet because of people that are listening. They make up a good 2% of the earth, and yet they're trying to make the earth in their own image. They're megalomaniacal, just like Pinky and the Brain, and God always across history has brought them low. He has just ended their project. Like, I was listening to the history of Freemason or secret societies, a documentary on the history of secret societies some time ago, maybe like 2 weeks ago, and one secret society was exposed because a person on a horse, like a courier that was sending mail to another location, thoroughly for the life of him, got struck by lightning. And so all of his documents inside his little bag were discovered on the road. And when they found out what this here group of men are trying to do to the world at large, the government thwarted it. They stopped it. They called them bizarre. And the leader of that particular secret society, I believe it was the Illuminati, the leader of that secret society wore layman's clothes and changed his look in order to conceal his identity so that he could run away, because now they've been found out. God has in history done stuff like that, exposed them, leaked their stuff, struck people down with lightning, so the workings of their cults will be discovered. The Reformation would continue to go forth. The Reformation would continue to evangelize people because it was not yet time for cults to take over the world to the nth degree of the Antichrist system that would then cause people to take a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads. So God is doing something of that nature right now. He's striking couriers down with lightning. He is ending a work that megalomaniacal people are starting, thinking they're going to run the world. He is putting a damper in their step. Anyway, let's go back down to this here Dumi mongrel. I got an understanding of sort of him speaking to the white guy, also YouTube South Africa, in a very senior capacity, saying to him, she's free to go. She's free to go. I'm not sitting on her. I'm not sitting on her. This white man got, of course, a notice, given that he is a head of a department, that they're pulling out of South Africa. He then told Dumi, we can't work together anymore because YouTube is pulling out of SA. So everyone that you have held hostage in a little bit of a basket, no more. So what then Dumi did was, of course, gather the caucus of his employees, that these people that he pays a bribe, including Marimabi, that is a plant at YouTube, and told her, Mamela Marimabi, I'm not going to be paying you any more bribes to thwart Karabo in particular. Not Karabo, but Christians, and in part, one of them being Karabo. So I'm not paying you anymore. Futhi has been bleeding. I've rejected him to the nth degree, so like him, there is a psychological operation. She's free to go. She's free to go. I'm not paying bribes anymore. I'm not paying bribes. I'm not paying anybody anymore. So because I'm not paying anybody anymore, if this woman is still thwarted, if this woman is still being sat on the chest of, I'm not the one holding her hostage. So essentially, Udumi he's on cruise control now because thanks to all these monitors being given a mandate, a job, some of them to even listen to all my content. Oh, look at you go, now you're picking a bone with me in your own personal capacity. And some of y'all are men. You're picking a bone with me in your own personal capacity. You dislike me so very much. You're so unhappy with all that which I is. Din swatsa sadrane haling patele mo ke khatileng treng ka tsaka dieta. And so therefore, in spite of indaba yokuthi anithola ama bribes and sabhadalwa for this thing, nonetheless ngihleze esifubweni because ngiyanqaphela. Woo, look at you go. La nqaphela sisi nana. Look at you go. Ngiyanqaphela ure from here to Timbuktu. Leng akala letso. Ha letsa thola thelete for ntwena. Now it's a matter of principle. To you, get that over my dead body before she will get anything. Except, listen, honey, just like besiege units, that's what God compared you to. The ones in Iran, you're kicking the last kicks of a dying horse. You no longer have commanding armies. You no longer have leaders. That's why I was reduced to like a besiege unit man. Mara, not so much from the vantage point of YouTube. And so busy. It's a private. He wants me empilweni somehow. Wang zama gaditlare mara asa patala batho uyangizama ngemithi kodwa he's no longer paying people. And marimabe, honey, you be picking a bone with me. After all, I'm from back in the day and ke khuntshitse wena ka di initials tsa gago ibilaneng wa tla mpolai God ontsa khontsha le ka lebitso ungduze sifubeng. You're like literally chilling on my chest, suffocating the living daylights out of me. Uyangifuna ngenkani ukuthi ngisetlele o batla go ke lo go ba lenja e go fileng ngolaza o batla go ke lo go ba lenja e go fileng herpes. And njanyana ena, even though I got anybody anymore, just as a matter of principle, she's free to go. I'm not sitting on her chest, except this guy is obsessed with me. He might act blasé, aloof, nonchalant in his own personal capacity. Maradu lako stulong sa gagwe abula content yaka. O rotha madi, o tswa dikeledi, o angata. Ka pelo le moya hure, ke stalker, o obsessed. Mara steam sa gagwe out. Parafini, I do think mode mayona, e mo fulang very soon. It'll be worn out. I saw a flammable grand shop. Iparafini yakhe lenja le izoba njengamanzi. Isazoqala imlilo anymore. Mara wathi ba hore ha ona nako engata esetseng for yena. So therefore, uMthutsi Fubenka's almost flaccid spell that he recently cast, where he's trying to make me think like Ruwinne. Just Keta Omthandayo amidst all of us. Except the sad and disquieting thing about this to me guy is obsessed up and down twirling on the spot. If I were to settle for any one of these minions, he would be the last one I want. He would be the last one I settle with. Because Mamela, he has harassed me the most, and it is his rap sheet that I know the best. Nyamazi. Okay. Some of the guys abangifunayo they've only ever been with women. Some of the guys abangifunayo frankly, I must have abaguli. They don't have STDs. Some of the guys this guy, I don't know what he's trying to hedge his bets on. It's what I'm getting at. I don't know what he's trying to hedge his bets on. Why? Because he's got the most money out of all of them. I don't even think he's got the most money. But nonetheless, he's looking at me, hoping with better breath. Or some of them don't even do witchcraft. They're just conservative. And so, our politics are similar. If I were to settle, I get in the song that I was singing, the devil don't quit or darkness don't quit until the light evidently wins. And every so often there are men that are like, listen, I'm a better evil. I'm a lesser evil. Because based on the rap sheet you've given me, I've just got 3 kids and an ex-wife. I've got this, they are better by, listen, loose standards. And I lamented about them in my shorts. Your barometer of excellence isn't that some other dude is shortier than you. Whatever you are, nonsense, go fella so Jaka ha areketa omthandayo amidst all of us. He's trying to achieve because he is obsessed. If I were to end up any of these other guys, because he is fetishistic, but nonetheless he thinks it's love. That would make him mourn. If I were to marry anyone, if I were to marry anyone else, modeling thing. I got obsessed. I got on the wedding day, go honeymooning. This guy all obsessed. So Jakaga Aragona Ketom Tandayo out of all of them, he thinks he is the default. Except I despise him the most. Plus uyanginyanyisa and happen like I said, rap sheet. Dude got a rap sheet. Lankutwa. Mzima. He's got a rap sheet ingati he is like a whole kingpin Danyani that is serving multiple life sentences. The dude got a rap sheet. And so because one of the rap sheet he is the last among those that I would ever settle for. So whatever he's holding onto is like a branch. It's a twig. And he is dangling off a 30-story building on that twig. He's dangling on a 30-story building, from a 30-story building, got that twig, hoping to hold on to lerato but like whatever. It's like a thing. Gunamana everybody's in the occult. They always kick a last kick of a dying horse. I was by my man, not even in the slightest. Abbas by iskelem soguala. Like, do a better thing, dog. Like, what? Like, correct yourself before you break yourself. Adjust yourself before you annihilate yourself. Like, ascertain in yourself that you don't get destroyed, man. Self, like, listen, don't hurt yourself before you skirt yourself, before you squirt yourself like toothpaste. Like, stop. Jaka had this to me, guy. As with this white guy, who I'm not sitting on chest thing anymore. This man, we are my colleagues, okay. No, like the subordinates high. To me, no longer can I help you with this chick. Alright? This man over a lady subordinates high. And then now everybody here is nice and seedy. Everybody here is literally shoddy. Everybody has a character that leaves quite a voluminous amount to be desired. Everybody is a smooth criminal. Except they're not smooth criminals. And imagine Abafazi, listen, women are conniving in ways that excel the connivity, if that's even a thing, of men. About chicken when they're raw. You know the saying, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Y'all know that saying, right? Are you be sitting out here with me hanging 10 on a hammock, sipping some kind of a drink out of a swirly straw and a coconut? Are you sitting with me in that hammock understanding the very veracity that about taking chicken? I'm gonna talk about this next. Ain't nobody gonna be able to do nothing for this chick, okay? She's like Medusa. She's got hair that's made up of snakes. And when then men look into her eyes, they get turned into stone. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And scorned women do not only take it out, tendencies in the scornfulness of this lady tend to have been, the tendency is that the reason why this woman has tended towards all the scorn largely is because of men. When people say hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, they're not saying this woman has been scorned by her best friends. She's been pushed into a swimming pool at a